Chapter 10. The family begins to starve. During the next 2 weeks, the weather turned very cold. First came the snow. It began very suddenly one morning. Just as Charlie Bucket was getting dressed for school, standing by the window, he saw a huge flakes drifting slowly down out of an ice sky that that was the color of steel. By evening, it lay 4 feet deep around the tiny house, and Mr. Bucket had to dig a path from the front door to the road. After the snow, there came a freezing glare that blew for days and days without stopping. And oh, how bitter cold it was. Everything that Charlie touched seemed to be made of ice. And each time he stepped outside the door, the wind was like a knife on his cheek. Inside the house, little jets of freezing air came rushing in through the sides of the window and under the doors, and there was no place to go to escape them. Sorry. The four old ones lay silent and huddled in their beds, trying to keep the cold out of their bones. The excitement over the golden ticket had long since been forgotten. Nobody in the family gave a thought now to anything except the two vital problems of trying to keep warm and trying to get enough to eat. There is something about very cold weather that gives one an enormous appetite. Most of us find ourselves beginning to crave rich steaming stew and hot apple pies and all kinds of delicious warming dishes. And because we are all a great deal luckier than we realize, we usually get what we want or near enough. But Charlie Bucket never got what he wanted because the family couldn't afford it. And as the weather went on and on, he began vanishingly and desperately hungry. Both bars of candy, the birthday one and the one Grandpa Joe had bought, had long been nibbled away, and all he got now were those thin, heavy meals 3 times a day. Then, all at once, the meals became even thinner. The reason for this was that the toothpaste factory, a place where Mr. Bucket worked, suddenly went bust and had to close down. Quickly, Mr. Bucket tried to get another job, but he had no luck. In the end, the only way in which he managed to earn a few pennies was by shoveling snow in the street, but it wasn't enough to buy even a quarter of food that 7 people needed. The situation became desperate. Breakfast was a single slice of bread for each person now. Lunch maybe half a boiled potato. Slowly but surely, everybody in the house began to starve. And every day, little Charlie Bucket shredded through the snow on his way to school and had to pass Mr. Willy Wonka's giant chocolate factory. And every day, as he came near to it, he would lift his small pointy nose high in the air and sniffed the wonderful sweet smell of melting chocolate. Sometimes he would Sometimes he would stand motionlessly outside the gate for several minutes and taking deep swallowing breaths as though he were trying to eat the smell itself.